All people in their lives strive for some dream or goal, for example, to become rich, influential, or to comprehend the truth and meaning of life. But some people are not like everyone else. This man wanted to be strong. This desire for strength remained with him even in his second life. In this fight, we see one man fighting against a large crowd. They shout at him, asking if he knows who they are. The men got tired of the boy's strange movements, and decided to attack him all at once. However, he manages to avoid being surrounded by them, and uses a special fighting technique called capoeira. He managed to knock one of the men down. The remaining men decide to team up and attack him, thinking that he will not withstand their attack. But he surprises them with a series of kicks using basic taekwondo techniques. One of the men insults him, calling him an insolent boy and telling him to prepare to die by an axe. But instead, the boy uses another capoeira kicking technique and defeats all his attackers. He laughs at them and asks if it was the best they could do. One of the men complains that the unknown fighter is keeping them at a distance with his strange movements. The boy tells him to shut up and accuses them of starting the fight when he was just minding his own business. He attacks them again and warns them that they are all in big trouble. They are very scared and decide to run away because they think he is a demon. Their leader beats one of his own as he tries to escape and calls him a worthless man. The leader then tells the young man that his skills are just tricks and tricks, but he cannot defeat a real master with these dirty tricks. The leader explains that the strength of a true master depends on how he uses his inner energy. He wants to show the boy how it's done. So the leader attacks the boy and challenges him to try to block his movement with his monkey jumps. But the boy uses his boxing and cross-punching techniques and punches the leader right in the face. The young man asks the leader what he was talking about all this time. A boxing ring appears in his memory where two boxers are fighting and the audience applauds loudly and expresses their delight. The announcer announces that Master Perfect Kong Sang-hyuk is back with a powerful cross-counter, a punch that lands straight at challenger Daro Antioanto. Daro Antioanto is knocked out and the commentator states that Master Perfect has won again with a record of 432 victories and 18 defeats. They announce the champion's name, Kong Sang-hyuk. They wonder who can stop this incredible winning streak. The reporter congratulates Kong and says that he has overcome false news that his health is deteriorating. He defended his title again. The reporter asks that Kong mentioned in a previous interview that he had something to say. Tell me, after this match you will leave, is it true? Kong confirms this, saying that it is true. Kong then tells them that this match will be the last of his career. All the reporters are surprised and ask if there is a reason for this sudden decision. Another reporter wonders whether Kang's selection is related to rumors about his deteriorating health. Kong tells them it's true. When asked about his health problems, Kong explains that he has serious health problems. Champion Kang's manager, who is sitting next to him, asks the reporters to let him explain everything. The manager explains that long matches and intense training caused Kang's body to rapidly deteriorate. Reporters understand this, noting that Kong has been involved in the sport for 30 years and competes in very difficult mixed martial arts competitions. Kong holds the record as the longest-serving champion and everyone is wondering if this is the end of Mr. Perfect. The manager then announces that due to champion Kang's health, they will end the interview here. Kong thinks to himself of Mr. Perfect, a nickname he earned after becoming a legendary figure in the world of mixed martial arts. From early childhood, he demonstrated incredible success in martial arts. He is trained in many martial arts such as boxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, wrestling, and many more. Kong became a champion just 3 years after he began his mixed martial arts career. He was unbeatable, with an amazing winning streak and many records, but now Kong has been involved in the sport for more than 30 years and he has to accept it. He defeated everyone in the ring, but time defeated him. He is seriously and incurably ill. The treatment will take a long time and the result is unknown. Kang's heart wants to continue fighting, but his body can't keep up. Fate has robbed Kong of any reason to continue living and he wonders what he has left. Kong has always been lonely in life and it looks like he will remain lonely in death. There is no point in living any further. Isn't it better to die now invincible and in the rays of glory? The light is fading. A century of lawlessness, chaos, and endless wars. The June Kingdom spread across the continent and fought with those around it. Even though the June Kingdom was not as strong as some other major countries, it was very resilient. This was due to the technique of spiritual development that came from India and was taught by Bodhidharma. They combined this with fighting skills to create martial arts. Other countries often tried to control and suppress groups that practiced these martial arts called Murim schools or sections. But the king of the kingdom, John Jusan, saw that these Murim sects had valuable power. It could help them win wars, therefore he supported and protected them. Jusan's successor, Jusan, continued to help them. He even made an agreement that the royal family and the Murim sects would not attack each other after the continent was unified. Eventually, the Jun kingdom became the most powerful. This marked the beginning of the golden age of the Murim sections. However, from time to time, conflicts arose between the traditional sects and the demon cult, which was supported by the dominant religion of the time, the White Lotus. This led to a cycle of good and bad times throughout history. The boy learns all this from a book called Juji Ijin Book. 2. He closes the book. He finds Murim's history very interesting, especially the one called martial arts. The cleaning lady then comes in and asks the boy Yun wait if he is here again. She reminds him that they can't let him sneak in all the time because the king will be upset. Young says he's really sorry and thought it might be awkward for the woman. The woman tells Young that this is her job and asks him to let her know in advance next time. Young agrees and says he understands. The woman asks Young where he's going now and he says he's going to play again today. Young mentions that he might be back a little late. The lady reminds him to come home before dinner. Young assures her not to worry and runs away. The woman watches him leave and comments on why boys his age have so much energy. She adds that every time Young leaves, she worries that he might get into trouble. The man nearby agrees with her, saying that he is also worried. In fact, he thinks that the young master from the Golden Tiger Wall will be worth a lot of money, so he hopes that no one else will have time to kidnap the boy. Young reaches the jungle and begins doing stretching exercises. After a while, he decides that this is enough and begins to practice boxing techniques. The voices repeat the words, Mr. Perfect, number one in the world and the strongest man in the world. His opponent arrives and everyone wonders what match they will see today. The battle begins. Young's opponent launches a high attack, but Young easily dodges it. He plans to measure the distance with low kicks and wait for the right moment. However, the enemy uses a cunning move. Young at first thinks it's a tackle, but then realizes it's a trick. Young continues to practice his moves, punching and kicking into the air among the trees. The man who has been watching Young from afar wonders what Young is doing alone. Young continues to train, and when he kicks the tree, it splits in two. Young is amazed by the incredible power of martial arts, especially considering that he is only 9 years old. In his thoughts, Young reflects that 9 years have passed since he was reborn. In this world of Murama, with memories of his past life, he wonders if this world is a dream or reality, and whether the person he was in the past is his true self or who he is now. Young believes that he was lucky to be reborn in Murim, because in his previous life, he could not fulfill all his desires due to the laws and rules of decency that existed there. Murim is a universe where issues of life and death are resolved with the help of force. Nothing holds him back here. He will once again make a name for himself that will rock the world, this time with his modern martial arts. The man who is watching Young is shocked, and exclaims that it is impossible for a child to have such power. Young comes closer and notices that it looks like he had an observer. He then asks the man why he was secretly watching him, and he replies that the boy's father ordered him to monitor his son's safety. Young then mentions that he thinks the man saw all of the training Young did. The man apologizes for this. Young thinks to himself that the situation is not good. He is worried about what might happen if his father finds out about this. Young's father is the leader of the Golden Tiger Wall, one of the 10 largest business clans, with a lot of power in the Central Plains business scene. Although they rank last among these clans, they have a good reputation for their generosity and adherence to the dominant religion. Leader Jan Jiho had 2 daughters from his only wife and a son named Jan White. Leader Jiho asks his son Jan if it's true that he practices martial arts, which is practiced by bandits and rabble. Jan denies it, saying it wasn't him. However, his father gets angry and wonders if Jan would dare to lie. He tells Jan that he heard about him rolling on the floor and practicing punches and kicks. The father asks if this is the kind of martial arts that random street thugs use. Young responds by saying that these are advanced techniques that will soon be called by his name, and he learned them from a certain master. Dad tells Young that if he's going to lie, at least make it believable. Young is disappointed that his father didn't believe him. His father tells Jan to stop talking nonsense, and says that if Jan wants to study martial arts, he should do it like an aristocrat, not a beggar. He suggests finding Jan a good master and even mentions the nearby Manhwa school. He asks if Young wants to become a novice there. Young refuses, saying he doesn't want to. He adds that the martial arts he learned are amazing and advanced, no worse than what they have. The father's anger flares when he demands an explanation from Young for his seemingly absurd position. He cannot understand this sudden change in Young, who has always been an obedient son. In response, father states that he will send Young to Manhwa sect in 10 days and will not tolerate any objections. However, Young has a proposal. He asks his father about the real reason he was sent to the Hua Mountain sect. He suspects that his father has acquaintances. Young proposes a bet. Father must find a martial artist from Mount Hua to come and fight him, and then the father will see that his son has nothing to learn at school. If Jan loses, he vows to obey his father's orders without question. On the other hand, if he emerges victorious, the father will not interfere with his studies. The father, with a sly smile, agrees to this bet, believing that he has caught his son in a trap. They give each other their word as men and seal the deal. But Young realizes that his father has more on his mind than meets the eye. The father notices Young's determination, but believes that there is no way Young can win. His opponent will be none other than the disciple of Ki Hyakdo, the first elder of the Hua Mountain sect, known as the Plum Blossom Warrior. This fighter is very strong in battle, almost on par with a top-notch fighter. A girl attacks a boy, and there is not the slightest fear on her face, but only confidence in victory. Despite her efforts, the boy skillfully parries her attacks, calling them the Manhwa crossblock. She decided that she did not put in enough effort, and decides to make every effort. The girl uses the stab fighting technique, and the boy uses the six-step sword. She decisively defeats him, and he praises her for getting stronger every day. He even suggests that it may soon become the first butt of Mount Hua. Grateful for his support, girlfriend Kong Yunhua promises to work even harder. Their teacher, watching from the sidelines, admires Yunhua's talent, his personality, and he briefly wonders what it would be like to have a daughter. Ki Hyakdo, the Plum Blossom Warrior, the first elder of the Hua Mountain School, devoted his whole life to cultivating talents, and did not find time for marriage and relationships. Hyakdo shares the news that an old friend has invited them to his home. Yunhua is very excited, and asks if she can have sweets there. Hyakdo assures her that it won't be just sweets, there will be a lot of other delicious food. Yunhua's eyes light up as she wonders if there will be more dumplings. She is completely ready for this. Hyakdo chuckles, and agrees that there will be dumplings, but also mentions that there is one condition. Hyakdo explains that his friend's son, around the same age as Yunhua, is learning some strange and low-grade martial arts. The friend is worried and wants Yunhua to teach his son a lesson, and convince him to stop studying martial arts this time around. Hyakdo asks Yunhua if she can do it. Yunhua enthusiastically agrees, saying that he will teach him a lesson. Several days have passed, and the people at the Golden Tiger Wall training ground are discussing the upcoming battle with the Manhwa sect disciple. Concerns arise about Yong's chances. It is rumored that his opponent is an aspiring martial artist from the Manhwa sect. Yong's father silently believes that Yong needs a major setback to bring him to his senses. Hyakdo arrives with Yunhua and apologizes for the wait. Father Yong asks if their accommodation was suitable last night. Hyakdo expresses gratitude for the hospitality. Yunhua also thanks Yong's father for his hospitality. Yong is outraged that he is being asked to fight a child. Yong's father reminds him that he is a child too. The father suggests starting sparring now that the introductions are complete. Hyakdo agrees and asks Father Yong to take a seat in the audience. He clarifies that since this is a competition and not a fight to the death, the swords will be wooden. It is strictly forbidden to inflict serious injuries on the enemy. The moment one of them admits defeat or falls unconscious, the other will be declared the winner. Hyakdo assures that if they feel there is a risk of serious injury, they will stop the match immediately. Having established the rules, Hyakdo announces the start of the match between Yong Huitai and Kong Yunhua. Yunhua introduces herself as Mount Hua sect's fourth-ranked novice, Kong Yunhua. She explains that she will use the six-sword combination technique. Yong introduces himself as Yong Huitai and strikes a strange pose. Yunhua wonders about Yong's strange posture and behavior. She believes that in a training match, it is customary to represent one's sect and martial art and decides that her opponent is too arrogant. In response, Yunhua decides to try his best and win. Yong expects her attack. Yunhua uses his six-sword combination technique, and Yong doesn't use anything. He just goes ahead. Yunhua, however, finds Yong's approach pathetic, seeing him as a child without strategy or calculated movements. She believes that victory is in her hands. As they begin to wrestle, Yong puts his wrestling skills to use and quickly defeats Yunhua on his first try, takedown. And no wooden sword will help here. The enemy is fast and strong. Young's father, teacher Hyekto, and other spectators are amazed at such a quick and convincing victory. They've never seen anything like this. Yunhua protests, claiming that this is not martial arts but street fighting. Young counters by saying that winning is all that matters in a fight. Mr. Perfect is not just a champion. He established a remarkable record, winning in all weight categories, from the lightest to the heaviest, one after another. His secret to success lies in the ability to exploit his opponent's weaknesses. During the fight, Young hits Yunhua with a powerful blow, leaving a dent in the ground. Young feels like a winner, but his father screams that the brat ruined the fight and now he's talking about victory. Young is confused and asks if he really messed up. He explains that he stopped the fight because his opponent could not move and would have been seriously injured. However, his father scolds him, stating that what he was doing was not martial art but a street fight. Young asks why that's bad. He trains and achieves enlightenment. This is martial art. Young gives his father a headache. Hecto thinks the boy is right about something. It's amazing that Young can control his internal energy so well at such a young age. But as a martial artist, Hecto cannot consider what they are doing to be a real fight. Hecto talks to Yun and says that his fighting is no different